Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to the Alpha for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today we set our sights on uncharted territory and embark upon the last leg of our Alpha adventure. At least I assume. I mean, at this point we've discovered 2 of our 3 trade planets, so there's just the one left. Though to be fair, the sector of space we're about to start exploring is the same one that Dark Eldar name dropped on us last time around, so in theory, we might have some Dark Eldar antics going on out here too. Possibly an entire planet to explore. Regardless, we'll move in, start going sector to sector, and see what we find. Though, before we dig into that, I should note that I did end up exploring the map a bit more on Grantis, the planet we were just on, and it turns out I did miss a container. We actually glimpsed it just as we were about to leave, but it netted us some halfway decent gear, including Deadly Precision, a unique bolt pistol, which is just, near as I can tell, straight up better than a standard bolt pistol. Though, sadly, we're not really set up for it, so we're not going to get much use out of it. It's just that low rate of fire that really kind of kills it for us. But, you know, maybe in the full launch. And then we also got a unique set of leather armor. The Armor of the Undaunted, which has 0 deflection, but a pretty substantial armor absorption, which is even more substantial against energy weapons. More notably, though, it also has a very intriguing trade-off. It increases the action point cost of your attacks by 1, which is awful, but it also grants plus 15 to all mental attributes during combat, which, for a character like Cassia, who generally spends most of her action points barking out orders anyway, is actually pretty fantastic. A lot of her abilities are keyed off Fellowship, which I believe does classify as a mental attribute, in which case she would essentially be getting twice the Fellowship bonus from the Armor of the Undaunted, versus the Radiant chestplate she's currently toting. I think she'd be better off on defenses, too, because honestly, while the Radiant chestplate does have a higher deflection, the absorption on the Armor of the Undaunted just blows it out of the water. So yeah, we'll give the Armor of the Undaunted a shot. See how it works out for us. That said, let's get back to exploring. Hopefully we can find something good. Really, Layla? I just lost half my seat to Layla, so I have to lean closer to the mic. This is the Fire with Alien Writing event. Alright, looks pretty straightforward. We've got 3 planets and a cloud of space dust. Space dust, of course, gives us energy batteries, which we can't actually do anything with yet. That's one of the many resources that, unfortunately, seems to have no actual purpose in the Alpha. Aha! It appears that a large void ship recently dumped a huge load of junk and faulty parts from orbit. The debris that did not burn up in the atmosphere is now blocking the flow of a mighty river. This dam is causing the river to overflow, flooding the nearby valley. A herd of large-hoofed rodents has gathered along the riverbanks. If the animals lose interest in their usual habitats, they are doomed. Oh, well, that's very sad. So, of course, our first thought is to hunt them to extinction. Which, you know, does sound very profitable, but I think we'll actually save them. Because I am not a monster. Who knows, maybe we'll find something nice in all that debris. Eccentric Animal Lover. Word of the Lord Captain's unusual fondness for bizarre rodents is quickly spreading across the ship. You know, not the reward I was hoping for, but I'll take it. Also, increased amount of organics on the planet? Okay. It takes many days and hundreds of crew members to remove the heap of trash and unclog the river, letting the waters flow freely once more. The rodents run back to their pastures without so much as a backward glance at the people who saved them. Oh, I see. That unlocked a provision node. Right. Okay, so we essentially created a sustainable resource node as opposed to what I imagine would have been a greater one-time gain had we simply wiped them all out then and there. And I've got to say, 10 provisions is not bad. Though, obviously we don't really need it. That's the resource we have stacked most heavily, and we have yet to find much of a use for it. Though to be fair, this is just the alpha. I imagine at least some of that stuff will change as development moves forward. For example, I imagine we'll eventually have use for energy batteries. Burning World's clear. We do have a rumor about Burning Worlds, but we've yet to really find anything on one. And Arid World has 3 Promethium. We'll take it. And that's it. Sector clear. Not really much to see in Orselio Prophecy. The rat incident was apparently the only real draw. So, we move on. Addermat 2 on the scanners. But we are actually headed to 100 Dreams Crossroads. We've got a rumor about that one. Nightmare event with randomized target. Sister Argenta, one of the Lord Captain's personal retinue, was found in her cabin, pale, crying, and caught up in a waking dream. She didn't seem to notice anyone around her. Instead, she clutched a fragment of a burned Aquila in her hand and kept calling for her mother. It took an hour to bring her around. And much like with Abelard, I imagine that's a link back to a tragic event in her past. Likely whatever trauma drove her to join the Sisterhood in the first place. Ah, looks like we've got an enemy fleet. And an ocean world. Which, again, is something associated with one of our rumors. Let's take out the enemy fleet, then we'll start scanning planets. You're facing Chaos Worshippers. It looks like their ships have been lying in wait for someone here. The Voxmaster reports an incoming transmission. Well, gosh, given that we know for a fact that ships coming out of Kiava Gamma are broadcasting corrupt Voxcasts, I think we might just refuse that call, or at least let it go to voicemail. Voxmail. Because otherwise it sounds like a great way for us to start a fight with multiple debuffs. And we're fighting. Okay, what have you got for me? 2 raiders. Light cruiser. And 2 more raiders just off to our left. So flanked by 2 raiders on each side. And then a light cruiser well ahead of us. They've got us pretty well surrounded, but thankfully only the guys on our left are actually immediately within striking range. I think we've got a full turn before the cruiser or the flankers on the right are on us. We'll just go in heavy, hammer these raiders on the left.
Unleash our vengeful salvo. Lay in the course.
We will take a little counterfire, but that's fine. Nothing we can't handle.
Another salvo.
Oh, right, moving up. Forward shields out on Raider 2.
Set the course. Macro cannons, volley.
Left shields out on Raider 1. Hull at 70. What? Rapid reload. After the macro cannon weapon's shot, if the starship moves at least 6 movement points, the macro cannons will be reloaded. Well, that is fantastic. An extra attack around is pretty great. Though it does require jumping through some hoops. Okay, wait. Which guns count as macro cannons? We're out of movement, so we'll try that out next round. Blink, blink, blink. A few shots off our shields. Complete whiff from Raider 2. Oh wow, you guys suck. Raider 3 incoming. Oh. They're going for the torpedoes. And Raider 4 takes out the salvo. Okay, we've got a bunch of guys converging on us, so let's hit and run. Oh, all right, I'm not sure why I can't use that one, but sure.
Fire right now.
Rear shields out on Raider 2. So if we use this, we have to move at least 6 spaces to reload. Nah, we'll save that for later. We need some space. Can we get them in our forward?
The time has come.
Nope. Fair enough. We should be pretty safe over here. Right, and these guys naturally burn out over time, too, so we really could just win this fight by playing keep away. But where's the fun in that? Did that actually hit, or... It did not. Okay, if we hook right, we can... No, these guys have port and starboard guns, unlike the,
Annihilate them.
I'm still thinking like I'm fighting Drukhari, who only have the prow mounts. I mean, we're going to take fire pretty much no matter what we do. We're still mostly surrounded. I guess we'll just kind of wiggle around. Try to keep our shielded sides towards the closest enemies.
Lay in the course. Macro cannons, volley!
Perfect. Oh, so maybe we trigger that after we move.
Bleed them.
Gosh darn it. Well, my intention was to keep these guys on our right side, but I guess we're just doing this now.
This one's going down.
Port shields out. Hull at 78. And we'll hold. Ooh, longer range than I thought. Didn't get through our shields, though. But that one definitely did. As did that one. Starboard shields are just completely out at this point. Oof. Thank goodness these guys are using baby guns. If these were Dark Eldar, we'd be dead right now. You guys sure that's where you want to park? I mean, I'm not complaining, but... Ow? Yes, ow. Oh, flak field. Wow, okay. So slightly more effective than I thought. Also, yeah, we've got a flak field just behind us, or off to our side. Not much to say there. We take damage if we pass through it, so best avoided. But man, that torpedo, that made this whole fight worth it.
Another salvo!
Right. So, after we move. Got it.
Fire right now!
We'll curve around, see if we can finally trigger Argenta's thing. It would be nice if we could at least verify how it works. Oh wow, that reset all of our guns.
Another salvo! Leave their hull strewn across the stars!
Raider's gone. Sorry, guys. And both port and starboard shields out on the light cruiser. Fantastic. So yeah, that new ability Argenta picked up is pretty incredible. We'll have to keep that in mind in future ship battles.
Lead them!
And we're good.
the course.
Oh, you jerk. And we're pretty much done here.
Torpedoes.
Especially with his weak side exposed like that. That's not quite what I was going for. Hold. Now we'll wait for him to circle. Oh, that does complicate things a bit. Oh, apparently we're done. I didn't even realize that was a timed fight. Nice, we've got wreckage. Which, yeah, it's about what you'd expect from a bunch of Chaos ships. Ooh, unholy relic. This amulet instills fear in both enemies and allies. Grants the wearer +10 to coercion, but a -5 penalty to fellowship. Which unfortunately is kind of counterintuitive because coercion is linked to fellowship, so essentially it's just a +5 to coercion, but a -5 on all other fellowship checks. Which honestly makes it pretty incompatible with our one fellowship character. Yeah, we'll just hold off on using that for now, I think. And nothing on Ocean World. We really haven't had much luck tracking down the locations mentioned in these rumors. Ocean World, Burning World. We also had a rumor implying that there was salvage to be had in this sector, but aside from the Chaos ships, we haven't really seen anything. Power crystals. We'll take those. I think we've actually got a few projects that require those. Though our big roadblock on that stuff right now is reputation. Oh, here we go. According to the ancient chronicles and maps handed to you by the Pilgrim, this icy planet used to be a prosperous imperial colony. However, a sharp change in the trajectory caused by the warp anomaly raging in the system caused the world to distance itself from the local star. In less than a decade, the planet's surface was completely encased in ice, sealing a wealth of imperial machines and artifacts inside a glacial tomb. Well, they're not going to do us much good in there.
Logical statement. Unverified information received from a nameless individual is likely to be false. However, the factual evidence pointing at the authenticity of the ancient documents allows to assume the rogue trader's augurs are not powerful enough to confirm or deny the theory about the frozen imperial world.
Thank you. Not sure why Pascal decided to take over for the narrator for a second there, but it's always nice to hear his voice. Such as it is. Also, I guess that really implies we need stronger augurs for our ship, which is not something I was aware we could get, but then again, we don't really have the entire ship upgrade system implemented just yet. So I guess that's something to look forward to in the future. But for now, I suppose this is just a rumor that'll have to remain unrude. And moving right along, I guess we're done here, so on to the next sector. Would be nice if we could find an actual explorable location. Let's try the Pillars of Viridici. Giant snake event. I think we've seen this one, like really early on. A group of workers hear what they think is a giant snake, so they lock themselves in a container and call for help. No sign of the snake, but the workers suffocate, which equates to minor hull damage. Yeah, I think that was actually the first event we got after we first left Footfall. And that was like 20 episodes ago. This alpha's pretty chunky. Plasteel, we'll take that. Running a little light on extractiums already. Cracked World, known for their magazine. Ooh, we've got a twofer. The augurs have detected the remnants of an ancient mining ship that crashed on the planet. It looks like it was carrying equipment and settlers to a new mining site. Searching the ship might prove useful, but it carries certain risks. I like those odds. The search team was able to retrieve the last surviving extractium from under the debris. They suffered no losses and returned to the ship, triumphant. Which we will immediately use to collect this plasteel. So essentially we got 9 plasteel with no net loss. Oh, that's a little peculiar. Huh. Okay, I guess there's just nothing here. Weird. I suppose if you can get stronger augurs, it would make sense that there are planets you can't find anything on with your normal augurs. That might actually be one of them. We've got a closed loop, so I guess we're headed for Agathis Arcades. No event. Oh, void ship remains. That's promising. And we've still got time. Let's check this out. Lord Captain, the augurs cannot determine who the ship we approached belongs to, but the telemetry clearly reveals it is an Imperium vessel. The hull is badly damaged, but there is air in some of the chambers, which means they're hermetically sealed. What are your orders concerning this discovery? Send out the order to prepare my troops for boarding. I will personally take part in the exploratory expedition. Ah, book event. I was hoping for a dungeon. Region, Cineris Maleficum. Location, Agathis Arcades. Material, extract from unofficial news sheet, Window on the Bridge. Distributed on the middle decks. Recorded by Unknown. Note, the veracity of the recounted events is questionable. We who walk down the same passageways in the same bays day after day, we who are born, live, and die to the hum of the ship's machines, we forever hunger for the smallest glimpse of another life, and for a chance to see the heroes who tirelessly fight for us, and for the glory of the Imperium. So let's have a tale about the Lord Captain, by the will of the Emperor, the defender and commander of every good and honest soul upon this void ship, and the time he boarded a vessel named the Fireborn. Like a dead whale cast ashore by the inexorable force of the swell, the wrecked vessel was a confronting sight for its unwitting visitors. Some bays still retained an atmosphere, but there was no life anywhere. The ship was dead, its machine spirits dissipated in the darkness of space. It was just the husk left, and the rogue trader's crew were to become scavengers, swarming the carcass of a fallen Leviathan. Our Lord Captain oversaw the expedition personally. He decided to train the penetrating gaze of the auger arrays on the damaged ship. The auger's keen eyes scanned the eerie vessel, identifying that the void ship was gravely damaged and was in the process of final erosion. There was very little time to explore it. 3 sectors seemed the least damaged: the bridge, the middle crew deck, and the service bay. After exchanging a series of trills and warbles in their mysterious and ancient language, the tech priest responsible for the augers reported to the Lord Captain that they had glimpsed signs of valuable components in operation in the service bay. The Lord Captain's next step was to have Adira Tlass feel out a course. An unholy psyker she may be, but even souls as dark as hers submit to the Lord Captain's will. With hostile eyes upon her, Adira sank into a trance. When she resurfaced, she reported that the ship had been a victim of the warp. The bridge had suffered worst of all. It was the section that provoked the greatest anxiety and trepidation in the psyker. The service bay was the least damaged section, though Adira spoke of it with no particular interest. The Lord Captain's next step was to turn his attention to the scout units awaiting instructions. Okay, so the bridge is the most dangerous location, and the service bay is the safest, but also loaded with valuable salvage. Duly noted. The Lord Captain had to decide which of the 3 teams he would lead, and which 2 would be entrusted to their officers. Let here be known the names of those honest people who stood before our rogue trader in that moment. The taciturn and grave young Ho-San, whose word was as firm as his handshake. Captain Vesti, whose jokes will be remembered by everyone on decks 3 to 5. I don't like that you did that in past tense. Captain Matina, the senior officer of the 3rd Unit, known to many as Grey Matina. She had been leading units back when the current crop of scouts were snot-nosed kids. No one on deck was in any doubt that navigating inside the wrecked ship would be difficult. The units would be separated by kilometers of twisted metal, dead modules devoid of atmosphere, collapsed passageways, and hull breaches the size of a house. The only thing connecting the brave teams would be the delicate thread of a Vox link. And so, after weighing up the options, the Lord Captain chose to go with... Oh, the teams are already set to go to each location. Okay. So then we had best head for the most dangerous location, since it sounds like Matina will be fine. We've got some definite death flags on Vesti, though. Yeah. Young Ho-San and his unit, who are heading for the bridge. From here on, we will relate the events based on what we have learned from witnesses, the people who accompanied the Lord Captain on the tour of the dread ship. The shuttles started up one after another and dispersed, each heading for its selected target. An hour spent on cutting through the hull in the freezing vacuum of space, a fussy boarding, and then, finally, the rogue trader stepped onto the cold, dark deck of the dead ship. The light of the torches revealed a sign in the gloom: Fireborn. After a minute-long exchange with the Voxmaster, who quickly checked the archives, it was established that the dead vessel was that of Captain Nova Van Dane, registered at Kiava Gamaport. Every minute spent on board threatened to end in disaster. The ship's days, or even hours of existence, were numbered. From all sides came the sounds of distant crumblings. The floor underfoot trembled every now and then. The Lord Captain hurriedly moved deeper into the compartment, when he suddenly felt the slightest puff of air brush against his neck, followed by a soft sigh. Almost as if someone had leaned in close, opened their mouth to whisper a dark, tantalizing secret, and then fallen silent. The only thing was that the Lord Captain stood entirely alone. Well, then how did someone witness it? Undaunted, the Lord Captain summoned all his knowledge of the wicked influence of chaos, choosing to combat fear with cold, hard analysis. Where simple mortals would already be trembling and weeping, the rogue trader only gritted his teeth. Shrieks and moans could be heard close by. Others were gripped by the illusion, too. Young Ho-san, the unit captain, barked out orders. His team held back their comrades who had fallen victim to the uncanny terror and who were struggling to break free and run deeper into the cursed ship. A few minutes passed, and the unit, though scared senseless, was ready to continue. Sound suddenly blared from the Vox, which was tuned to the second unit's frequency. The words sounded muffled, as though the person on the other end wasn't speaking directly into the Vox, but desperately pressing the transmit button while occupied with something else. Never seen anything like it. It's beautiful. Hold on, wait. Is it moving? The words were cut off by a strangled wheeze, followed by static. Well, that's not great. That was the mid-crew decks. Young Ho-san listened to the transmission and the final rasp with a surprisingly calm expression, then pressed the Vox button and in a similarly calm voice let loose a stream of florid swearing, which centered on casting aspersions on his interlocutor's intellectual capabilities. Turning to the rogue trader, he remarked, "Apologies, Lord Captain. Captain Vesti from the second unit is well known for his pranks." "Crap, the Lord Captain's with you?" comes Vesti's voice from the speakers, followed immediately by, "My sincere apologies, Your Lordship. I just wanted to spook the guys a little." I can't be mad at that. I mean, probably not the best time for it, but yeah, we're not going to cause more drama by coming down on the guy mid-mission. Captain Vesti reported that his unit's foray had so far proceeded without incident, mystical or otherwise. They had found no survivors from the ship's crew, or bodies for that matter. However, the unit had encountered a problem. The passage leading to the deck section with the arsenal and storage depot was seriously damaged, especially the power cables. Proceeding further could be dangerous. But after consulting his officers, the Lord Captain issued new orders for Vesti's unit. Vesti's unit headed off to carry out their orders, while the rogue trader and his team continued on. After spending several hours wandering down the dead passageways, young Ho-san's unit and the rogue trader reached the bridge of the Fireborn. The oppressive feeling had not dissipated. It was as though the bulkheads of the ship were steeped in the terror and pain of the people who had vanished without a trace from those decks. On their way there, the unit had found no signs of a struggle or bodies of the crew, and that served only to deepen their unease. After examining the bridge, the scout unit discovered that the captain's principal cogitator was still functional. The final log entry was identified, a damaged pict recording that no one on the unit was eager to view. Proximity to the cogitator alone was unsettling enough, and with each passing second, remaining on the bridge was becoming more and more difficult. Sure, why not? The Lord Captain took a risk and watched the recording. Ah, crap. The recording contained a message from Captain Nova Van Dane. It was almost impossible to make anything out in the pict. Only the captain's hand gripping the edge of the table, the flashes of iridescent light. The captain was speaking crisply, almost calmly, but there were also short, almost inaudible breaths. Exactly what the rogue trader's team had encountered when they had first boarded the ship. And it even seemed that those sounds were coming not from the recording, but from the gloom-drenched corners of the bridge itself. Kiava Gamma has fallen. The Fireborn broke orbit under fire from an unknown enemy and left the system, said Captain Van Dane in the recording, with the tone of an officer reporting to her superiors. We encountered pathological warp activity. The crew is reporting failures in the Gellerfield system. The ship is doomed. Whoever finds this recording, I ask you to hold a prayer service for our souls. I also ask you to take the family relics of the Van Dane line from Kiava Gamma. The relics are stored... The captain then specified the location of her family vault and the access code. It was impossible to stay on the bridge after that. Any longer and the size would have driven the team insane. The Lord Captain gave the order to retreat to the shuttle. Oh man, now I'm really curious what would have happened if we had passed that check. Possibly something else to find on the bridge? Or possibly more to hear in the recording, warnings about a security system perhaps. Or clues about what happened here. Man, that's really gonna bug me. A message came in from the unit led by the seasoned, unflappable Grey Matina. The captain methodically reported on all the service bay sections her team had already examined. They had found nothing of value. They had found no bodies. There had been no incidents, and the search was proceeding as normal. The unit was waiting for further instructions from the Lord Captain. And after distilling the salient points from Grey Matina's exhaustive report, RetconRaider listed the areas that warranted a more thorough search. After returning to the shuttle, Rogue Trader received reports about Fireborn status. The tech priests who relentlessly pierced the wreckage with the Augur's gaze insisted on curtailing the operation as soon as possible, fearing imminent destruction. There were also reports from the other two units. The second unit had succeeded in moving through the danger zone, and had returned to the shuttle with a valuable payload taken from the dead ship's stores. Grey Matina's unit had explored the service bay without incident and, not wasting any time, had marked valuable components for later disassembly and transferred to the Rogue Trader ship. Ooh, man, look at all this stuff. Hotshot Las Pistol, Sinister Diary, Curse Whispering Vox, Tainted Blood Vials, Long Las, Binary Transcript, Cogitator Bracelet, Depleted Battery, and Extracted Electu. So a bunch of generic cargo, but then some very non-generic stuff as well. So really, the only thing we missed out on was whatever else might have been on the bridge. The units assembled at the shuttles, and the Lord Captain gave the final order of this grim expedition. To honor the memory of Captain Nova Van Dane and her crew. The last request of the fallen captain had been fulfilled. The improvised funeral began with a brief military salute, and the Rogue Trader himself reciting a prayer for the souls of the Fireborn. Just as any honest servant of the Emperor who has dedicated their life to voyaging through the darkness would honor their fellows and mourn their deaths. And then time was up. The scouting party returned to their ship. With one last look at the Fireborn, the Rogue Trader gave the order to fire upon the dead vessel at range. For that which was born in fire should perish in flame. And I guess that's it. Wow. No exploding ship, but I'm sure they'll fix that in post. Yeah, I like that. I mean, a little long-winded perhaps, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hoping it would go a bit heavier on the horror, but you know, the more pragmatic side of me is glad that things mostly worked out. I mean, I'm sure if we had flood more checks, it would have gone a whole lot heavier into the horror aspect of things. Especially if we had not accompanied the group to the bridge. I think we've already got one of those. Yeah, that's identical to the diary we got off Janus. The las guns are interesting, but I'm not sure we really have much use for those. And the low rate of fire on the hotshot las pistol makes it kind of useless for Ret. Though I suppose we could give it to Yurliette in her secondary slot, for those rare occasions where she gets pinned down in melee. She is specialized with laser weapons. Though I could just as easily give her that blast pistol we picked up off those Drukhari. But for now, let's clear the rest of these planets real quick, and then I think we're at a good stopping point. Nothing on Arid World. Let's check out Arid World. Oh, here we go. The giant rings on this planet's surface can be observed even from orbit. Hello, Rain. It has emerged that this planet has a native species of giant insects similar to Terran ants. Just like ants, they sometimes form so-called death spirals, in which one creature follows another without realizing they're going in circles. These were the rings discovered by the ship's observers. The strange phenomenon that was originally suspected to be a sign of warp activity, or a nefarious xenostructure, turned out to be a quirk of nature, and a tragic one at that. Interesting. No real mechanical purpose for that, but that is a nice sort of mood setter. You know, it helps build the atmosphere. I do kind of wish we had more events like that. You know, just rather than completely empty planets like this one. Not a huge deal, but I do feel like it would make exploration slightly more satisfying. And nothing on this one either. Fair enough. We're pretty much out of time anyway. So yeah. Not a lot of action today, except for the one fleet battle we had with those Chaos ships, which did have one or two spectacular moments, so, you know, there's that. Regardless, we're at time. We've cleared a whole cluster of sectors here, which means we're ready to move on to the next. So I feel like this is a good place to call it. We'll hit the pause button for now. I'll do the usual rounds of off-screen bookkeeping. I'm pretty sure half that stuff we just recovered needs to be packed into cargo bundles. And we will pick up here next time, as the search for Kiava Gamma continues. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Dragon Matrix 7, Revenant, Alois, Drakiith, V23, EgonAlter, Emile, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Rowan Church, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you can even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.